Hello and welcome back to my channel. I'm Molly and today I am going to be doing a beginner's guide because a lot of the guides that I used way back when are now probably a little outdated or buried and hard to find. So I decided to put this video together. We're going to do doing where to buy, coordinating basics, and how to wear Lolita in public. I hope you join me for this video and we'll get going. So the first thing I'd like to talk about is where to buy Lolita. There's two main ways you can get Japanese brand Lolita, either new or secondhand, and today we'll be doing mostly secondhand, talking about brand, and also Taobao. So first we're going to start with Taobao because for beginners, Taobao tends to be a much easier option because it tends to cost less. And there's two ways to get Taobao pieces. Taobao is basically Chinese Amazon, however, they don't ship outside of China. So the two main ways you get it are through Taobao using a shopping service where you go on Taobao and you tell a shopping service what you want and then you buy it through them and then they ship it to you. Or go through a reseller like Club Online or Devil Inspired. Now, which one you'd want to do basically comes down to what's more important to you. Using a shopping service tends to cost less, but it takes a lot longer for your product, for what you ordered to get there, because you have to buy the item through the shopping service, and they ship it to the shopping service, and then they ship it from the shopping service to you. Whereas a reseller, you can buy directly from them. So resellers cost more, but you can get the item faster. That is the main difference between the two. Also, resellers won't always have everything available that's on Taobao available to buy on their site, so that is also another factor to consider. The other way you can really get pieces of quality is buying brand. Now you can buy a lot of Japanese brand Lolita items directly from the sellers, like Angelic Pretty and Baby the Starshine Bright both have Western storefronts, both online and in person. But if you want to get it secondhand, you've got to know where to shop. So if you want to buy online, so most of it of course is online, and where I personally shop, I go on Wunderwelt and ClosetChild. Wunderwelt is pretty nice. They have a really good selection and they update their stock pretty regularly. It's not as inexpensive as it used to be, although it still is usually much cheaper than buying directly from a brand. Wunderwelt also has her site divided into two sections because they also act as a storefront for Japanese brands. So there's Wunderwelt, and then there's Wunderwelt Fleur, which is their storefront for the brands. The other place I shop for brands secondhand online is ClosetChild. The tricky thing is about ClosetChild is that their site, you have to translate it from Japanese into whatever language you need. So it's really tricky to shop on ClosetChild sometimes if you don't have Translate enabled on your device. So I usually do it using Google Chrome. Mozilla is a little iffy. I don't know how it well works on Safari, but that is something to consider. ClosetChild, their stuff is, and Wunderwelt, both sites really sell pieces in good quality, and they also disclose damage, which is really helpful. Other places where you can get Japanese secondhand brand, there's Mercari and Yahoo Auctions, but those both require a shopping service, kind of like Taobao, in order to buy from them outside of Japan. The final marketplace I'm going to talk about is LaceMarket. LaceMarket differs from the others because it is it is Lolita to Lolita. Whereas the others are, whereas ClosetChild and Wunderwelt are storefronts, and Mercari's kind of like eBay, but LaceMarket is directly Lolita to Lolita. And you can buy from any Lolita anywhere in the world, you just have to work out shipping. Now, LaceMarket does have its own etiquette. It's always good to message sellers and ask about anything you're not sure of. It's better to ask than to try buying something and then not have it worked out, have it able to work it out later. That's always really disappointing. So don't be afraid to message sellers when you, especially about damage, any potential damage. That's really big. Also, please leave feedback on LaceMarket when you get your item. It's really helpful for the seller and anybody else who wants to buy from that person. They can read the feedback and kind of know what to expect in terms of communication and damage disclosed. The next part of this video is coordinating basics. So how do we put all these outfits together? It's not just throwing things together like you usually would with normal clothes. It's a little more involved. So I'm going to go over some tips and some things to keep in mind when you're coordinating. First thing I'm going to talk about when coordinating is, what is the cut of your main piece? Is it a jumper skirt? Is it a one piece? Is it a skirt? Or is it a salopette? A jumper skirt is a dress without sleeves, and typically when you coordinate a JSK or jumper skirt, you want to wear a blouse underneath. This helps with the nice modest Lolita look, and it just helps it look a little more put together. One pieces are dresses without sleeves, so you do not have to wear a blouse underneath them, although some of them are designed in a way that you can if you really want. And sometimes that can lend a nice, like, princessy over the top look, but it is something to consider. You're going to be wearing more fabric, so it might not be the most comfortable. Skirts are skirts. You're gonna have to wear something on top. And skirts are kind of a challenge compared to the one pieces and jumper skirts, because you have all this blank space, but that also leaves more room for accessorizing with necklaces and cardigans. Which cut of main piece depends on what you're coordinating for. One pieces are the easiest to coordinate, but they offer the least variation because they do not require the blouse. Skirts are the hardest to coordinate, but they also allow for the most variation because you can do more on top with accessories and cardigans. Jumper skirts are kind of in the middle, and they're also really easy to find. So if you want to get started with coordinating, I really recommend jumper skirts because they get you used to thinking about everything you need to do to come up with excellent coordinates. You also need to consider printed versus non-printed. A lot of dresses and pieces come out with a print, with the distinct pattern that we all love Lolita for. And while others are more focused on the construction and are non-printed, they don't have that distinct pattern on their fabric. Prints are nice because it gives you an idea of what colors and themes that you can accentuate in your outfit. Whereas non-printed dresses, you have more free reign, but that also means you can sometimes be paralyzed by choice. It's really up to you. Both can be gorgeous. When coordinating printed dresses, the best advice I can give is to look at the colors in the print of the dress other than the main body color and try to accentuate those. It really gives a nice, colorful look that's still coherent. When coordinating non-printed pieces, you want to look at the tone and the saturation, the tone and saturation so you can pick out pieces that go with that won't necessarily clash. Now I'm going to talk about what you can wear your dresses with. You got blouses. For a proper coordinate, you need blouses, you need leg wear, shoes, and a headpiece. And if you're feeling fancy, you can also have your purse matching. But sometimes for functionality issues, you can't do that. So don't worry about that too much. So what I like to do is I like to match my blouse to my leg wear and my shoes to my headpiece. It's really great for coming up with coordinates on the fly. You can also, with blouses, leg wear, shoes, headpiece, once again, especially with printed, you can pick out colors in the print and try to match those. But those are the basic parts of the coordinate that you should focus on making sure look coherent. Another thing to consider when wearing Lolita, putting together coordinate, is what are you coordinating for? Form versus function, basically. Are you going to be at a convention where you're walking around all day? You're probably going to want to wear some comfortable shoes, even if they might not match perfectly. It's always good to optimize your comfort. Finally, makeup. Makeup is not required for Lolita. You can wear it if you want, and it can really bring out certain parts of your coordinate. But it is by no means required, and you should not feel really don't feel pressured to wear it one way or the other. Now, the final part of the video, wearing Lolita in public. This part is going to tackle probably the most scary thing about Lolita, especially for beginners, because you can have found the perfect dress, and you got the perfect dress. You came up with your coordinate that you're most happy with, and now you got to go outside, and that can be pretty tricky and nerve-wracking. My advice for this is be polite as possible with the public, because chances are someone's going to say something good or bad. Usually I found it's good. I get people, especially in the smaller town where I live, I get people being like, oh, I love your dress, oh, you're so cute, stuff like that. I don't really get too many people who are weird, believe it or not. Of course, that might change depending on where you live, but when dealing with the public, no matter if they're rude or sweet as an angel, be polite. It'll keep the situation from escalating if they're rude. And if they're really polite, it'll really make their day, and you'll probably feel really good afterwards too. Another thing you're going to have to consider is, how are you going to explain what you're wearing? Because sometimes you're going to get asked, what are you dressed up for? What's the occasion? A lot of times when people ask me what I'm dressed up for, what's the occasion, I'm just like, oh, I just felt like it today, just felt like being fancy. And that satisfies them enough. You don't need to go into a long-winded explanation. They just a little bit curious, and then you can just move on with your day. Now, when people are asking, what are you wearing, and really want to know what is up with the floof, what I do is I say, I am wearing a Japanese street fashion that's inspired by historical Western fashion. And that usually does pretty well. You can throw in a little bit about 1950s New Look fashion, the French Rococo period, Victorian fashion, Victorian morning wear, as those are all influences with the fashion and can be really shown in your coordinate. But generally, it's usually better to avoid calling it Lolita, especially with older people, because of the connotations that they have with the book. Unfortunately, some people still don't understand that two totally different things could have the same name. But I know people are people, so just bear that in mind, that some people might be a little weirded out about it if you call it Lolita. But if you explain the fashion first and then name it, they tend to be a lot more receptive of it. Also, how are you going to get used to it? It's kind of scary to go out dressed up so differently than everyone else and just go about your day looking so different. And yeah, people are going to look at you. How do you deal with this? What I like to do is, first off, when you're first starting out, go out with a friend. Don't go by yourself. Go with someone who really likes the fashion, can understand it. And that can help you get some more confidence and wearing the fashion out in public, especially with your support person, basically. And you can just kind of get used to it that way, and then eventually have the confidence to go out on your own or in smaller groups. I think it's really worthwhile to learn how to be in public on your own as Lolita, especially if you aspire to be a lifestyle Lolita and just go about your daily life. So it's worth it, at least in my eyes. So yeah. Thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video, and I hope you found this advice helpful. If there's anything I missed in the just put it in the comments below, and see you next time. Bye-bye.